everybody doing? Here's the thing. I love what I do, and I'm assuming that you guys love what you do as well. I love coming to trade shows that I can connect with other barbers and hairstylists that are just as dedicated and hungry about the passion for the craft as much as I am. This right here feels like a family reunion to me. You guys, you are my extended family. And the reason why I believe that we all connect, because we all are trying to be the best version of ourselves. We are communing together with people that have the same passion of us, and we're going in the same direction. The definition of friends are two or more people that's walking in the same direction. So a part of my family and friends, we're here at the Orlando show, and it's a pleasure to be here. My name is Kenny Duncan. Thank you, I appreciate that. My name is Kenny Duncan. I serve as the artistic team lead for the Anders Clipper Company. And my challenge for you today is to be great on purpose. To be great on purpose. The reason why my challenge to you is that one is, I believe that if you don't have a plan, then you plan to fail. And my challenge is for anybody here listening to me is not to settle for just being average, not to settle for being good, but to focus on what is missing in order for you to be great. My journey through barbering has been this. My upbringing hasn't allowed me to be the fullest version of myself, but me cutting hair has allowed me to attract a large amount of thought leaders that have great ideas, and because of them being attracted by my cutting, I've been able to have great conversations with a lot of great people that help shape and evolve me to be beyond what I could be just with my upbringing. So I know that we're here for creative cutting, but I'll have to tell you that I'm always going to talk about the benefits of barbering beyond just cutting hair while I'm talking about the technical aspects of cutting hair. Because I believe it's comprehensively whole in the presentations. It's best for us to do. If that's the type of presentation that you want to be a part of, let me hear you say that's all right. That's all right. Perfect. If you can't tell the slang or the accent, I'm from Philadelphia. Now, I've been blessed with the opportunity to travel the world cutting hair, and I consider myself to be a multicultural clipper cutter. I consider myself to be that because no matter what curl pattern or what texture of hair, I've been able to do it with both my manual shears. I call them mechanical shears. I call them mechanical shears because a large amount of what I want to do is similar to what you do with manual shears, but I want to do it with mechanical shears. Before I get into that one, I have to do the consultation. My client here let me know that he's growing his crown. He gave me permission to do whatever I want to do it on the sides. So I break down the head into 3 different sections. Section 1 is our lower temple and including our nape area. Section 2 is our upper temple across our occipital bone. Section 3 is the apex crown top of the head. Because he's let me know that he's more concerned about Section 3, it gives me permission to prescribe what I believe is best for him inside of Section 1. Does that make sense? Now, the Section 2, I like to call the marriage area, because it's going to tie together what I'm choosing to do in Section 1 and what he's deciding he wants inside of Section 3. So it's up to me to choose whatever I want here, but then use this to blend together both what he's asking for and what I believe is best for him. Does that make sense for everybody? So with that being said, I now have to focus on what tools that I'm going to use. I know that I'm going to use a heavy-duty clipper, I'm going to use a heavy-duty trimmer, and then I'm going to end up using a shaver. The clippers that I'm going to use, number one tool I'm going to use is called the Anders Revite. This particular tool is one of my personal favorites in my travel barbering kit because it is here. It's a light tool that has a lower metal housing that allows 100% of the energy for that motor to go to that blade. It's equipped with a fade blade that adjusts from a 5.0 to an 0.8 blade set, or if I was just using attachment combs, it would be a half. The reason why I like this tool because I like to use clipper calibrations or manipulations of the tool, and I don't just lay it flat on the head when I'm using it because I like to get various different lengths based on how I'm holding the tool versus just allowing the jewel tool to be used flat against the head with the adjustable arm. Does that make sense for everybody? For those of you that didn't get it, I'm going to unpack it throughout the presentation. You'll understand why. The next thing I want to share with you is that I'm not going to use attachment combs. Now, I'm not going to say attachment combs are bad. But instead of going to attach my comb, using an attachment comb, I want to focus on attaching my comb. So a large amount of the areas where I'm going to do a transition inside of Section 2, blending together what I want from Section 1 into Section 3, I'm going to use a comb to connect those 2 areas. All right? So I just want to give you some insight of what I'm going to do first. And now I want to get into the trimmer that I'm going to use. The trimmer that I'm going to use is called the Beast Boot. It's one of the newest tools from the Andis company, but it becomes one of my personal favorite because of the metal housing that it has that allows 100% energy from the motor to the blade. But then also, this is the only wireless charging trimmer on the market without any third-party attachments to make it do so. So the charging dock for this one also charges my cell phone, so I can actually take my trimmer off, place my cell phone on or a client cell phone on while I'm doing this service so that I can quickly charge it and I don't have to have a whole bunch of things on my station. So the fact that I can actually use this to wirelessly charge, it becomes a benefit for me in the shop and out the shop, because how many people here have used an Apple charger? One of the latest Apple chargers is a round charger called a mag charger that sticks on the back of your phone. That wireless charging dock also charges this trimmer as well. So when I'm on a go, I literally can just sit it on my wireless charging dock to charge it if I need to. It's one of the coolest features I've ever experienced with a trimmer. So I want to get into actually doing a haircut, and because we're talking about creative haircutting, but still keeping it classic modern barbering, what I want to do is, I know that we have a disconnection because the crown is disconnected from section 2 and section 1. The only thing that's connected are those two sections. I want to make sure that I do something funky in this area along the sides because he gave me permission to do what I wanted on the sides. And I'm not going to do something avant-garde and wild, but I'm going to create a slight cut in the sides just for the purpose of adding some flair to this haircut that I'm going to share with you. So I'm going to take my comb and I'm going to take my trimmer. This particular tool has the ability to use this trimmer and lock it so that it doesn't get used during the time that I'm traveling. So I can press the button for about 10 seconds and turn it on. Then once I do that, I can just turn it on and off easily. But I'm going to start right at this temple point and then make a line of demarcation going down. Now this is just the beginning point of my disconnection. Now, what I want to do is, I want to give a subtle taper to everything that's inside of section 1 on down, and then I want to give a darker taper inside of section 2 going up towards the parietal ridge. And here's how I'm going to do so. I'm going to take my clipper, and I'm going to take my comb, and I'm going to focus on creating that taper in that section. So I'm going to first start at the temple, and I'm going to take my tool and I'm going to use it just like it's a remote control. Remote controls you don't grab tight. Remote controls you let it rest on 4 fingers and use your thumb to find out what button you want to push. So once I figure out what button I want to push, which is taking my thumb and put it right in the middle of my 4 fingers, and I want to raise 2 fingers and drop 2 fingers to create a C-stroke motion. That C-stroke motion is going to create graduation so I don't create heavy lines of demarcation with each of my movements. So as I take the tool, let it rest on 4 fingers, placing my thumb right at the center pivot, comb the hair down, and at the point of where I want the hair to be bald, right at his ear lobe, I want to take my tool, and I want to take my tool and do a C-stroke right at this section here. Everybody follow me? That same C-stroke I'm going to do there, I want to make sure I follow it around and do the C-stroke here as well. When I'm doing that C-stroke with the tool closed, I'm creating a subtle line of demarcation, but it's fading with graduation because of the movement I'm doing. I now want to take my tool and move it halfway open, and do a C-stroke 1 centimeter higher than what I did previously, and then I want to do the same thing going around. Now I want to take my tool and go all the way open. We'll do a C-stroke a half of a centimeter higher. Now at this particular point, you can tell where the transition is going. So my essay of low fade is being established, but you don't exactly see it being perfect right now. The average barber, what they would do next is pick up the 1/16 attachment comb and then start going through the progressions of closed, halfway open, and all the way open. instead of going to get an attachment comb, I'm going to attach my comb. And the way I'm going to now hold my tools, I'm going to close my tool, which is the industry Vite. I want to hold it on the web of my hand as if it was a big pencil. Taking my thumb and my pointer finger to control the tool and let it rest on the web of my hand so the weight of it can be held here. I now want to focus on my comb. Now my comb in itself is going to be, I want to make sure everybody can see, perfect. My comb is going to be my aid to my traveling guideline. I want to start off with the tips of the teeth of the comb towards the scalp, and then I want to lift my comb up towards the line of demarcation. Then I want to point the tips of the teeth of the comb away from the head, and I want to create a graduation with each clipper cutting stroke. Now my tool is closed, and as I take my tool and go in, slide across and cut, I'm keeping my train on the tracks as I continue to do so, because all the hair that's sticking out of the comb is the hair that I want to cut, and all the hair behind the comb is the hair that I want to keep. Keeping my train on the tracks. What do I mean by keeping the train on the tracks? I want to make sure that my clipper is always sliding across the teeth of the comb, so that as I press up against the comb itself, I'm pressing the hair against the teeth, the increased amount of tension that I'm giving with each clipper cutting stroke. Now, here's a beautiful thing about this tool here. There's some small areas I'm not 100% satisfied with within the transition. The beautiful thing about this tool here is that it has teeth. Let me go here. Perfect. Can we get that a little clearer? Perfect. The teeth that's on the end is much wider than the teeth that's in the center. I want to use those teeth on the side to my benefit. What I want to do is, instead of laying the tool flat against the skin to continue to fade going north, I want to fade with a less aggressive approach. I want to do what I like to call a thinning shear version of both a 1/16 and a thinning shear version of a 1/8. Because I'm allowing this tooth to push my blending further away from the scalp, it's going to make it easy for me to blend in a less aggressive way in those sections. So I'm using the same C-stroke motion, but I'm making sure that it's holding in my tool at an angle, and what it's allowing me to do is pluck at a few hairs at a time versus doing a blunt cut, removing a large amount of hair all at the same time. So because I can pluck in this way and make it less aggressive, I have greater control of my transition to make it easier to create a flawless fade that I'm satisfied with, based off me focusing on the small little details within the haircut versus the initial putting in of the transition. Does everybody see exactly what I'm talking about? Make it easy? Now what I'm going to do for right at that's the middle of section 2, going into my parietal ridge, I want to use my bigger flat top comb for the purpose of making sure that my connection goes even further and goes even higher. So this particular section here, I want to be slightly darker, but I still want to create a taper in that section here, and I'm going to do so by now keeping my tool open, because if I clip with my tool closed, it's going to cause this hair here to be very blunt cut. I want to keep this hair here with a lot of texture, and I want to keep it darker and longer. So I'm now going to do my clipper comb with my tool open instead of doing it with it closed. With me doing it with it open, it's going to create a little bit more texture. I want to still focus on combing and find the growth string, right? I want to take my comb and go against the growth string, point the tips of the teeth of the comb towards the scalp. I want to make sure my comb is grabbing the hair with tension. And then once that hair hits the spine of the comb, I want to actually tilt my comb away to create the graduation I want to follow and keep, and use my train and stay on the tracks to slide across and cut. And then when I want to go continue higher in the hair, I want to continue to go up in the same way you would do with your manual shears to create texture. See that? Makes it much easier. Now for the crown, I don't want to remove any weight from the crown, but I do want to add some texture. And I'm going to share with you what I would do to add texture with my mechanical shears. So, instead of keeping it with a solid square shape and it has a little bit too much density in that section, I don't want to remove width or density, but I just want to focus on adding a little bit more texture. So I'm going to take my comb, in the same way that you would use your manual shears, I'm now going to use my mechanical shears to create vertical tappings, sliding horizontally, and I'm not going to be removing much hair based on how I'm just tapping the hair. It makes it easy for me to comb hair, pull tension, and then create a little bit more texture. And the beautiful thing is I don't have to spend time on a blood spill kit. I don't have those V-shaped souvenirs, but I'm able to add a little bit of texture in those sections that I want to have a little bit more texture.
You bet I'm trying that next week. I'm actually not. It's like
Now I want to do a reverse fade into this beard. So I faded going north already. Now I want to fade going south. So I'll take my tool, same C-stroke motion, tool close, and then I want to use the tool halfway open to go right down to the bottom of his earlobe. And the reason why I want to do that was because his beard is a little patchy in this area here, but I don't want to remove the beard because I still want to keep it that manly look, but I just want to reduce the hair in the areas where it's a lot thinner, but I want to keep the emphasis on the chin hairs that actually are a lot fuller, and I'm going to do some detailing in here, but I'm going to fade in the areas where it's thinner to give it that complete modern feel, but still keeping it with his beard. Whenever there's small areas I'm not 100% satisfied with, I like to focus on going with a less aggressive approach to clean up the hair in that section, instead of me going back with a hard, aggressive approach, because it helps me focus on making sure that the details are there within the haircut the way I want to, and then my client is satisfied with the final look. And I'm satisfied with the look. Most of us here are visionaries. And what do I mean by that? A lot of times we don't stop cutting hair, styling hair because a client said, hey, you cut enough hair off, or it looks good right there, stop. It's because we have a vision in our mind, and that vision in our mind matches the vision that's in the chair, and that's usually when we stop. So that's the proof that we're all visionaries. The question is, how are you going to get from point A to point B in a quick amount of way without sacrificing quality and allowing for the client to feel comfortable? The reason why I mention comfort is because client comfort is key. Making sure that the client feels comfortable at all times within the haircut is important. It's almost like the visit to a 5-star restaurant.